7:37 and 38. Moses himself told the people of Israel, God will raise up a prophet, much like me, from among you and your brothers. Now, this is reference to not only Christ, but reference to all the prophets that came through after Moses, not just the ones that we have books named after. This refers to the Nathan that came to David. It refers to all these prophets. Not all the prophets mentioned. Elijah was a prophet, but yet there's no book of his prophecy. His prophecy is just given as it's recorded. But this is general reference to all the prophets that would be before him. In fact, it's interesting that Elijah don't got his own book, yet when Jesus goes up to the mountain, sees Moses and Elijah's the one representing the prophets, yet he doesn't got a book to himself. So we see how there's a general reference here. But it's also a main reference pointing to Christ. And the Pharisees knew this, and they rejected who Jesus was, but they knew that the prophet Moses was talking about was the one that was going to rebuild the temple, going to bring back their freedom, and all these things, which Christ was, we see through Scripture, it's more of a spiritual thing rather than some temporary flesh. And He rebuilds us to restores the relationship between us and God, which is more important than the temple. What was the other thing I said? He frees us from sin rather than just frees us from Rome. He freed Israel from Rome. These things were more important, and oftentimes God works in this way. He does things, we put it where our expectations are here, and He does this. The problem with Israel and the Pharisees here is their expectations weren't met, and they couldn't see past their expectations to see God did something far greater. Oftentimes we can fall into that pattern to where, because God don't do it exactly the way we see, it hurts our fellowship with Him. Verse 38. How true this proved to be, for in the wilderness Moses was the go-between, the mediator between the people of Israel, an angel who gave them the law of God, the living word on the Mount Sinai. Now, oftentimes this is what the prophets did. They were spokesmen for God, but they were oftentimes mediators. We see this with Jeremiah, with a bunch of the prophets, how they go between trying to have God show mercy on the people because of the bad things that they're doing, so the judgments ain't carried out. But they always carry God's message. But we see how Moses was a mediator. And he's using this, Stephen is teaching here. Stephen's using this to show them that Moses was a mediator, but Christ is a far mediator. Because Moses, while he could talk to God and suggest things to God, Christ fixes things between us and God. And while these other prophets may have spoke to God and tried to speak on their behalf, Christ fixed it on their behalf with His death. The things that Israel was doing, the sins they were committing, the prophets could only try to suggest God show mercy. Through Christ, we receive grace, not just the mercy. So Stephen's trying to slowly show them who Christ is. And oftentimes this is how the Spirit works in us and through lost people drawing them in. And usually ain't all of a sudden. They hear certain bits and pieces along the way and it starts sinking in and building. So this is the same method Stephen's using here to try to bring these people to the Lord.